Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, car versus tractor trailer closes 101 in Amherst, a short distance from last week's fatal crash. A Honda was traveling east on 101 when it passed a tractor trailer also traveling east on 101. The driver of the Honda realized he was out of room and was reportedly about to hit another vehicle traveling west head on, so he quickly moved to the right back into his lane. When pulling back into his lane, his vehicle struck the front of the tractor trailer and rolled over on its roof. The vehicle initially was pushed by the tractor trailer into the guardrail of the Merrimack Road overpass and then slid a significant distance on its roof. The driver of the Honda was the only occupant and was restrained with a seatbelt and surrounded by several airbags. He self-evaluated and refused treatment to the hospital. He appeared shaken, but no visible injuries. The driver of the tractor trailer was uninjured. Route 101 was closed for over an hour with miles of traffic backed up westbound. The eastbound lane was closed at the Milford exit, allowing people to get off 101. Kinney Towing rolled the vehicle upright while Amherst Fire and Rescue stood by to assist with leaking fluids from the vehicle. The roadway debris was cleared and the highway reopened. Amherst, New Hampshire police are handling the investigation. It is unknown if there were any charges against the driver. And here are some photos from that scene. Take a look. And here are the images right here, as you can see. Take a look at this photo. Trooper Jeffrey Mills of New Hampshire State Police and New Hampshire Officer Graham County Wagner, a turtle that was attempting to interfere with traffic on I-95 in Hampton Falls. Take a look. New Hampshire State Trooper and New Hampshire Fish and Game helped the turtle. Very cool indeed. And this nice spring weather will be making turtles and other animals come out from hibernation and things. So, spring is here, and get ready for spring and warm temperatures. Man thought in Hinsdale double murder found dead, officials say. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
This is not your kid's sandbox. This is the place that brings your backyard dreams to life. With thousands This photo of 28-year-old Derek Shippey was released by Vermont State Police, warning the public he may be armed and dangerous, as the New Hampshire Attorney General's office announced it had obtained arrest warrants for Shippey for 2 counts of second-degree murder in the shooting deaths of 29-year-old Neil Bolster and 19-year-old Aaliyah Jacobs. Authorities in Vermont say they had located a vehicle Shippey was believed to be using on his family's property in Vernon, Vermont. Hours later, his body was found somewhere in that same town.
There's no indication that there's any foul play in relationship to his death.
The victims were found by police Thursday during a welfare check at this Plain Road home in Hinsdale. New Hampshire and Vermont State Police working together along the way.
First, a quick result to identify the perpetrator, to seek and secure arrest warrants for the 2 counts of murder, and then ultimately to locate Mr. Shippey's body.
This case continues an alarming trend. Since March 1st, the Attorney General's office has responded to 13 deaths, some of them victims, others alleged perpetrators.
I don't think that there has been a week that has gone by that individuals in this office haven't responded to locations from one end of the state to the other with our partners at State Police.
Now, an autopsy will be performed on Shippey in Vermont, and as this is an ongoing investigation, anyone with information about the double shooting in Hinsdale should contact State Police. We're live in Concord tonight. Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Booker, unfazed by poll, says he'll continue to campaign the New Hampshire way. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker is unfazed by early polling in New Hampshire, showing him in low single digits among likely Democrat voters as he prepares for his official home city campaign kickoff rally on Saturday today. Booker, speaking to WMUR by telephone from his home state Friday evening, said he's excited by the large crowds he's attracting in the Granite State and by this week's endorsement by freshman State Senator John Morgan of Brettonwood, the first New Hampshire lawmaker to make an endorsement in his first-in-the-nation primary. Warren says she'll soon release plan to tackle student debt. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
Hi, I'm Lane Gregoire.
And I'm Logan Gregoire.
Country Camper is family owned and operated.
Perhaps more than any other candidate running for president, Elizabeth Warren is at home on a college campus. Before she was Senator Warren, she was Professor Warren.
I love being on college campuses because these folks are the future. And my campaign is all about what kind of future are we going to build.
The 2020 contender made a stop at the University of New Hampshire Friday, connecting with students who could provide decisive votes in the first-in-the-nation primary. UNH is an epicenter of the student debt crisis. Forbes says as of 2018, students here carried the highest average debt load in the country, with more than $36,000 each.
It's a burden, is what it is at the end of the day. It's stressful for everyone who is affected by it.
Warren told students Congress is already working to simplify the federal student aid application process, and she tells News 9 a comprehensive plan for tackling student debt is on its way.
I'm going to have a big policy rollout on this very soon, so stay tuned on the details, but you know where my values lie in this. This is all about how we build a future, and we don't build a future by crushing the hopes and dreams and plans and opportunities for young people.
Warren, who spent the evening campaigning in Portsmouth, is trying to lap the field with those big policy rollouts. Her latest is a proposed 7% tax on corporate profits above $100 million a year, which would raise an estimated $1 trillion over the next 10 years.
What can we do with that money? Think about what it would mean to reduce the student loan debt burden. Think about what it would mean to make the investments in universal child care and universal pre-K.
In Durham and Portsmouth, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Gillibrand hires Guggenheim as New Hampshire Communication Director, promotes McLeod to State Director. There were several deployments in Senate Kristin Gillibrand's New Hampshire presidential campaign Friday, including the hiring of Sarah Guggenheim as State Communication Director. WMUR has learned that in addition to the move by former New Hampshire Democratic Party Communication Director Guggenheim, the Gillibrand campaign also promoted Shannon McLeod from New Hampshire Political Director to State Director. McLeod succeeded Pat Devane, who is moving on to U.S. Rep. Annie Custer's congressional office in the top role of Chief of Staff. Devane is replacing Abby Curran Horrell, who recently left Custer's office to become Executive Director of House Majority PAC, a super PAC closely associated with U.S. House Rep. Speaker Nancy Pelosi that supports Democrat U.S. House members and candidates. And if another key development, Gillibrand's campaign will also announce widely later Friday the opening of New Hampshire campaign office at 1 Pyramid Road, Suite 100 in Manchester. Guggenheim joins Gillibrand's campaign after serving as communication director for the NHDP for the past 2 years. She had a key role in the party's work that aided in Democrat victories in 2018, winning majorities in New Hampshire House and Senate, as well as the Executive Council. Democrats also retained the state's 2 congressional seats, Custer and freshman U.S. Rep. Chris Pappas. Previously, Guggenheim worked on Hillary Clinton's presidential primary campaign in New Hampshire before working for Clinton in Maine and Pennsylvania for the 2016 general election. McLeod, prior to joining the Gillibrand campaign as a political director, headed former Executive Council Colin Van Osten's campaign for New Hampshire Secretary of State race and was Manchester Mayor Joyce Craig's finance director for her successful 2017 campaign. Devane managed Custer's successful re-election efforts in 2014 and 2 years later managed Van Osten's governor campaign. After winning the 3-way primary, Van Osten lost in a close general election contest to current Governor Chris Sununu. Prior to joining Gillibrand, Devane was a senior political advisor at the Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee. House passes 2-year $12.9 billion state budget. The Democrat-led House passed a $12.9 billion 2-year state budget Thursday that Republican Governor Kristin said will destroy New Hampshire's status as a tax-shunning state. The budget passed 225 to 159 along party lines, with no Republicans voting for it, and only one Democrat rep, Harris Kinzel of North Conway, voting against it. It now goes to Senate, which also has a Democrat majority. Democrats praised the plan for providing property tax relief to towns and cities, boosting education, aid, and front-loading the state's child protection and mental health systems to avoid more serious problems in the future. Republicans criticized the plan for including a new capital gains tax and 157 new state employees for spending one-time surplus funds on new programs that will have ongoing cost. House Republican leader Dick Hinich of Merrimack called it a deeply flawed budget that taxes and spends at record lows. The House budget includes about $500 million more in state spending that Sununu proposed in February. It eliminates most of the infrastructure projects he wanted to fund using surplus money and replace a 2-state voluntary family and medical leave program he created with the governor of Vermont with a mandatory program that opponents say amounts to an income tax. The House made 2 changes to an earlier version of the budget recommended by its Finance Committee. It added $500,000 for the state's Internet Crime Against Children Task Force that Sununu had included in his plan, and it added $1.2 million to design a forensic psychiatric facility to serve patients who are deemed too dangerous to treat at the state mental hospital. Currently, such patients are held at the state prison even if they haven't been accused of crimes. Sununu, whose budget includes $24 million to build a 60-bed facility, called that amendment window dressing. The Senate, meanwhile, passed the bill Thursday to build the facility, but tabled it as a way to preserve the issue for the future budget negotiations. 2 years ago, the Republican-led legislature unanimously approved an $11.7 billion plan after the House initially failed to pass a budget for the first time in years. Thousands of Stop and Shop union workers remain on strike. Let's take a listen to this video from WCVB Boston.
Show me the crown. Show me homecoming. Baby sloth videos on YouTube.
Amy, do you mind giving someone else a turn? I got a pizza for Amy.
Yes! Xfinity lets you search Netflix, Prime Video, and YouTube with the sound of your voice. Click, call, or visit a store today.
Getting yourself set up for a productive week, maybe a Saturday morning shopping is in your plans. And if you typically go to Stop and Shop, you have two options. You can either cross through this picket line, or you could go shopping elsewhere, as we've seen people do in both ways this morning. Teamsters getting into the middle of things now, tweeting their support for striking workers, saying they will not deliver groceries to the stores. This impacts 240 supermarkets in Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. The stalemate over wages, benefits, also pensions. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who was running for president, stopped by the Somerville store a day ago to lend her support to striking workers.
This is a company that made $2 billion in profits, that then got a fancy tax break in Washington from the Republicans, and now wants to squeeze our workers right here in Massachusetts. Well, we're not going to put up with it.
Stop and Shop says it has made what it calls a good and reasonable offer, also claiming it's among the best to be offered to this union in the country. Now, we're talking about 31,000 workers who are on strike, and so a lot of people who've been coming to these stores say the services might not be quite as they would expect, and when they've gone elsewhere, they said those stores are busier. So we've seen that play out here this morning, as I mentioned just before. Some people stopping, actually talking with the workers, hearing what they have to say, and going elsewhere. Others stopping to talk to them, or not at all, and going inside to shop. We're live in Austin. Josh Brigadier, WCVB.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And the Boston Marathon is gonna be this coming Monday. And the city is getting ready for the 223rd Boston Marathon. Let's take a listen to this video from NBC Boston.
Where there's a hint of ocean air as you wake up in the morning. Where music, art, and theater are first class. Where plates are covered with fresh lobster, clams, and oysters. Where working out is a pleasure. Come to Dennis, the heart of Cape Cod. You deserve it.
Their march to the 123rd Boston Marathon. This morning, city officials discussing safety around the race. Obviously, so important, especially as we remember 6 years ago what happened. Obviously, the bombings. NBC 10's Nia Ham live in Boston with more. Nia.
That's right, Mayor Marty Walsh talks about those safety plans along with other city officials. He says they have a comprehensive safety plan in place ahead of Marathon Monday. And this press conference that we just attended, it comes just after a huge security scare involving a drone at Fenway Thursday night.
We are 3 days away from the 123rd running of the Boston Marathon.
And that's why the city and law enforcement officials are making sure they're ready. Over the next several days, expect road closures and beefed up security.
Police and fire and EMS will have a large presence in Boston on the marathon route, as well as other agencies throughout the entire marathon route from Hopkinton all the way to Boston.
You will see uniformed officers, there will be plainclothes officers, and there will be undercover officers.
Mayor Marty Walsh says the city has activated its Emergency City Operations Center to coordinate with city and state agencies. Heightened security along the 26.2-mile route has become a major focus on Marathon Monday in the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bombings in 2013.
There is no intelligence, credible or otherwise, that would suggest that the MBTA or the marathon itself are targets.
That's good news. Some have been uneasy after a drone was seen flying over Fenway Thursday night as the Red Sox took on the Toronto Blue Jays.
There will be no drones being flown against the law.
Commissioner William Gross says there will also be technology in place for drone detection. That's right. So for more information about road closures, you can go to boston.gov/marathon for a full list. Now, city officials also encouraging everyone coming into the city on Monday to walk, bike, or take public transit. There will be a lot of people here. We'll be here as well, live outside of Government Center. Nia Ham, NBC 10 Boston.
Okay, and there you go. So be prepared for busy Boston on Monday and also throughout the weekend this weekend. Colby Woodsmen host annual Mud Meet this weekend. Let's take a listen to this video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
It's so hard to find a bank that cares about you as a person and doesn't treat you like a number. There has to be someone. That's it. Central Maine Credit Union is just what we need. Great job, Pookie.
An event for those who aren't afraid of getting dirty happening this weekend. Great weather for it. Colby College Woodsman is hosting their annual Mud Meet. This is where teams get to compete in various outdoor events, in wood relays, even wood chopping. I think I heard axe throwing. That's pretty cool. Our own Jacqueline Thomas is live in Waterville this morning. She's learning more for us. Good morning, Jacqueline.
Yeah, good morning, Kathleen. It's going to be awesome here today. I'm excited to see how things play out. We have a demonstration ready for you. I'm talking now with Joe Yauk, and he is actually the treasurer of the Woodsman Club here. And tell us just a little bit about, what's going on today.
Yeah, so today we have our annual Mud Meet. We're going to have about 8 teams from all over New England and actually from northeastern Canada as well. And they're coming down here for one of about 10 woodsman meets that happen throughout the year. And we're going to compete in some old-time logging competitions, so sawing, chainsawing, axe throwing, anything that can be done with wood. We're going to do it here today.
Awesome. And we have a couple of guys ready here to show us something,
so
right?
Over here we've got Jack Taylor from California and Joseph Savage from Oregon. They're going to do a demonstration of a crosscut for us. So you guys ready? Yep. All right. Timer's ready. Competitors ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah. So these two guys are using what's called a crosscut peg and raker saw, and they're going to make a cut on this wood right here by pulling back and forth. And this was used a long time ago to fell up trees into more manageable pieces.
Okay.
So they're trying to use the whole saw. It takes a lot of muscles, every muscle in the body to move this saw back and forth. And in competition, they have to make 3 cuts. Woodsman team is made up of 6 people, so each pair is going to make 3 cuts.
Okay, that's awesome.
Nice work, guys.
And then you wanted to talk a little bit about the saw, too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so this saw that we've got right here is what's called a peg and raker saw. So we've got, these are the pegs right here, and this is what's doing actually the cutting. And then these right here that look kind of like whale tails are called the rakers, and that's what pushes the sawdust out of the cut.
Interesting. And is this event a timed event in the competition?
Yeah, so most events that we do are judged by time. There are a couple that are judged by points instead, but this one is judged by time. A good cut for professionals through that piece of wood is going to be around 1.5 seconds. This is one of our duller saws, so this one isn't moving as quickly. But yeah, good time is about 1.5 seconds per cookie is what we call it.
Awesome. That sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
But,
yeah. It's really fun. And most people on the team don't come in having ever touched one of these, but we teach them pretty quickly, and they pick it up, and it's a blast. It's a lot of fun to do. So
that's great. Yeah. I'm so looking forward to this and seeing it all play out.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for that demonstration. We'll have some more demonstrations coming up for you guys as we head throughout the rest of the morning, so you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that and kind of get a taste of what to expect here at the Mud Meet happening today from 8 to 4 at Colby College. We'll send things back to you, Kathleen.
Okay, and there you go on that video. Looks like a fun event to check out. Capitol custodian staff say they were harassed, exposed to porn by lawmakers, report says. The U.S. Capitol overnight custodial staff allegedly they were sexually harassed, exposed to pornographic in lawmakers' office, and overheard conversations in which others were being harassed, according to a watchdog investigation into 10 years of sexual harassment reports in the architect of the Capitol, the office responsible for maintenance and operation on Capitol Hill. And that does it for the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night, everyone. Bye.